I've always known that I'm adopted. That's never been a secret in our family at all. My great parents have an adopted sister who is from a different family. And we grew up knowing that we were adopted. We had books about adoption. So that I always knew that part of it, but I never knew why I was placed for adoption, exactly who placed me. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. The story my mom had is that my biological parents were 18 and couldn't afford to raise me, were not married, and had to get on with their lives, and so they placed me for adoption. None of which was true. So that's why you need to read this book. It's what my mom thought that the social worker had told her. I did get the non-identifying information from the state of Arkansas because you can't get your records, they're sealed, but you can get what they call non-identifying information. That can be the mother's religion, any health problems, what she knows about the father, if anything, what she knows about her family, her mom, her dad, so that you can get at least some idea of where you came from. But that isn't always telling. So I had to wait on that for about 3 months. And in the meantime, I started doing my DNA genealogy, which meant I just swabbed my cheek, waited for the results to come in, and see what kind of matches I had. Some were very intriguing. They ranged from, I think, every religion and most ethnicities well, that I was related to. And so I was able to start piecing together cousins and first cousins once removed and third cousins, starting to look for who would be my biological mother's mother's mother. You know, how do I find a name? That's what adoptees are always looking for. They're always looking for a name. So I was looking for my mother's name, and then I was looking for my father's name. Boys are XY, and the Y comes directly from your father. Father to son, father to son, father to son. So if you test that Y DNA, which is separate from the DNA we all share, then you may get a lot of men that you match who have the same last name. So being a Billingsley, what name would I match? Would it be all Smiths or all Jones? And as it turned out, it was all Hensley. I know. And so now I have another name. But finding that particular person was very challenging because you got to hope that they don't have a different name themselves. So it's all about finding the name and following the DNA and seeing where it leads. And then the non-identifying information came in. That told me a lot about the biological mother, at least gave me some clues, and her sister, her brother, and at least dates of when they were born. So then I could start putting together a better family tree. So this book is about how I use DNA and good old-fashioned genealogy, because it's not all about the DNA. You have to understand a little bit about how you're related and what second cousins once removed might mean, or third cousins twice removed. Or we all go back to the same people in Africa 12,000 years ago, and we all spread out around the globe from there. So understanding a relationship based on how much DNA you share with a person is not tough science, but you have to think it through. So this is not too heavy on the science. The cover of the book has the DNA helix on it, but if you don't understand the helix, then you think it's just a really pretty ladder, which is fine because it gets me to my family tree. But I'm not big on the science part of it because that just wasn't what I wanted to go with. I'm much more about a conversational story, telling it, explaining what happened to me, how I found my biological family, and then what happened once I found them. Because not all of them knew about me, as you can imagine. So there's a bit of, there are sad moments, there are happy moments, there are funny moments, because as you know, I'm such a funny guy. And it can be charming and endearing, and it can also be inspiring. A lot of people that I've heard from who have read the book have told me that they were on the fence about maybe doing their own searches, or maybe someone had contacted them, and they understood the emotions that I went through, because it's an emotional book as well. So they get it maybe a little more than they understood it. So I've heard from people that have really been inspired and thanked me for writing it, and that's really the most rewarding part of it. It's changed my life in that I have a lot more family, and it's hard to find greeting cards for happy birthday to my biological mother. Because most of them just say, happy birthday, Mom. So that's changed, that's for sure. I have found out a lot about the families that I've come from. Some's good, some's bad, just like every family. And they feel compelled to tell you their family secrets, even though they hardly know you. But your family, so they start telling you these things, and you're like, oh my gosh. So there's been some surprises in that regard that I'm not going to tell you about. But I have really grown to understand that we are all indeed related. We share 99.5% of our DNA. All of us, every human being. Well, no, we share 50% with a banana, so, 80% with some fish, but we share 99.5%. And I've even read scientific data that says it's 99.9. Bottom line is, we're much more the same than we are different. And we need to focus on our sameness and stop focusing on the differences, because the differences are dividing us as a people. They're dividing us as a country, and they divide families. And we're all in it together. And for a very short period of time, when you start looking at all of the death certificates and gravestones and find a graves and social security indexes and people that lived and are dead, you realize I'm going to be one of those people one day too. One that lived and one that died. So what you do with your time on earth becomes really important to you when you start to realize how really short it is. And we all hear that, but sometimes we don't take it for what it's really meant to tell us. We're only here for this much time. And then my adoptive mom and dad, I had a chance to really sit down with them and say, I always knew that you were great for me and that I love you. But it gave me a chance to really say to them, thank you so much. Had I not been adopted and raised by my wonderful mom and dad, Pat and Jim, I would not be the man I am today. I wouldn't have had the opportunities, the education, the moral guidance that I had, the religious guidance that I had. And I just would be a different person. And I don't want to think about who that person would be, because I'm really happy with the one that came out of all of this, which is me. My biological mother has the same eyes, the same smile, and the same laugh. Yes. My biological father has an amazing singing voice, which I did not get, unfortunately. Had I gotten a great singing voice along with everything else, well, I'd be the singing weatherman. I'd be singing in the rain. But I'm not. Anyway, it's all in the book. I didn't leave out a lot, but I talk a lot about not just biological family and adoptive family, but the other families we have. I talk about my wedding, the family you create, Radar, the weather dog, the family that you have on 4 legs that we all seem to have. Hurricane Ike, how we come together as a family when we're in tragedy, like we did during Harvey. There are lots of families in our lives. So I talk about my news family, like you and me. It's where you find your place in the world and where you find your family that is important. That's the family that nurtures you and guides you. You can find the book at frankbillingsley.com. That gets you an autographed copy, signed however you want it signed. frankbillingsley.com, that's the best place. And I take all credit cards, even PayPal and Apple Pay. And if you don't want to go there, you can find it on Amazon, and you can find it at Bright Sky Press, the publishers, brightskypress.com. I believe there are copies at Target.com and BarnesandNoble.com. And if you just do a Frank Billingsley Swapped and Found search, you'll find the book.